Hi, my name is Leslie Henson, and today we're going to be going over CPR, the importance of CPR, why it's an important skill to have, and we're going to briefly go over how to perform CPR. So at this moment, you're probably asking yourself, why do I need to know CPR? I'm not a medical professional, nor do I ever want to be, so why is it something that I need to know? So I'll give you an example. You're at your parents' house, and you find your mom or dad collapsed on the floor. What do? You're at a family reunion and it's hot outside, everybody's having a good time, and suddenly somebody collapses. Or you're at a park. It's a park that you typically go to, you exercise there every day. You see the same people every day, and one of the people that you see run by you, you catch up to him only to find him collapsed on the ground. Do you just call 911 and wait for help to arrive, or is there something that you can do in the meantime while you're waiting for help to arrive? And the answer is yes, there is something that you can do. So how many of you have ever been in an emergency situation? How many of you have ever been in an emergency situation where somebody collapses and they're not breathing any longer? Do you know what to do when that situation happens? And if you don't, that's okay. And that's why you're watching this video right now. So according to the CDC, in 1 year alone, 475 Americans die from cardiac arrest each year. And cardiac arrest is when a person's heart just stops beating. More than 350,000 cardiac arrests happen outside of the hospital environment. And the CDC also says that 9 out of 10 people that have a cardiac arrest event outside of the hospital die. CPR can improve these odds significantly if done properly and done within a few minutes of the event occurring. So we're going to get into a little bit of history of how CPR came to be. It started in the 1700s, and in 1732, in Scotland, a local surgeon uses mouth-to-mouth breaths to revive a suffocated coal miner. Just 12 years later, in 1740, the Paris Academy of Sciences officially recommends mouth-to-mouth resuscitation for drowning victims. In 1874, a German physiologist studies research on animals, and he reveals that massaging the heart during surgery can restore cardiac circulation. In 1878, in Germany, a man named Rudolph shows that external compressions of the heart can provide adequate circulation in cats. But that theory doesn't take off until 1960. The American Heart Association the American Heart Association was established in 1924 and starts a program to physicians with closed chest cardiac resuscitation, which becomes a forerunner of CPR for the general public. The American Heart Association is the leading training organization, and CPR is continually improving over the years. Now that we got a little bit of history out of the way, what is CPR? CPR stands for cardiopulmonary resuscitation. CPR is an emergency life-saving procedure when the heart stops beating. Immediate CPR can double or triple the chances of survival after cardiac arrest. The main purpose of CPR is not necessarily to make the heart start beating again. The whole purpose of CPR is to maintain blood circulation for the heart and the brain. Your brain starts to deteriorate after 4 minutes. After 4 minutes, your brain can start dying, where if you do revive that person, they'll start to have brain damage. After 6 minutes, death is likely. Now, since we know what CPR is, let us get into the steps of how it's done. There are 2 types of CPR. One of the CPR is a hands-only CPR, and the other CPR is when you do 30 chest compressions and a mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. But I'm only going to explain to you hands-on compressions, because typically when you're out and about, you're not going to have the proper safety devices to do mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. So there's 5 steps to CPR, and the number one foremost absolute important step is your safety. So always make sure the scene is safe for you to help this person. If your scene is not safe and you don't feel safe doing it all, just call 911, let them know of the situation, and let them know that the person has collapsed. Don't ever put yourself in a situation that you can get hurt, because you can't help the person if you get injured as well. The second step is to call 911 or have somebody to call 911 for you. The third step is to shake and shout. You shake the patient, ask them, hey, are you okay? If you don't get any response, there's a couple of other things that you can do, but you don't have to do. You can do a chest rub, and that is you just take your knuckles and you put them right here and you push real hard. And if you don't get a response out of that, typically, you're not going to get one. The fourth step is to check to see if they're breathing. You can look, listen, and feel. You can look to see if their chest is moving up and down. You can kind of put your ear to their face to listen, to see if you can hear them breathe, or if you can feel any breath on their face, or on your face. And if they don't respond to any of those things, and they're not breathing or anything at all like that, you can go ahead and jump into chest compressions. So what you do is you go ahead and you kneel beside them, and you put your hands, you put the heel of your hands in the center of their chest. So you start from the rib cage, and you underneath the armpit, and you move over until you find the center of their chest. You place the heel of your hand on the center of the chest, and you place your other hand and you interlock your fingers. You push as hard as you can and as fast as you can. Now your goal is to get 100 beats per minute. Now a cool trick is I don't know if any of you may know this song, but there's a song that is called Staying Alive, and it's by the Bee Gees. And if you go to the beat of that song, typically that's about the beat that you need to be at. All these steps can be done in less than a minute. It sounds like so much, but it's really not. All of these steps can happen in less than a minute. Right now I'm going to play a video just to give you an idea of what CPR is supposed to look like.
First, assess the scene. Look around. Make sure the scene is safe. You can't help anyone if you become a victim too. If the scene is safe, check the person for a response. Tap or shake the victim on the shoulder and shout, "Are you okay?" If you do not get a response from the victim, yell for help. Next, tell a specific bystander to phone 911 or the emergency response number. Remove clothing out of the way of the victim's chest. Next, locate your hand placement for compressions. With your hand, draw a line from armpit to center of chest for placement. Place the heel of one hand on the lower half of the sternum or breastbone. Now, place your other hand over the first, interlacing your fingers for support. With your arms straight and your shoulders positioned over the victim's chest, push down on the victim's chest. For an adult, you will want to push down at least 2 inches or 5 centimeters. Now watch as I perform 30 deep compressions in 18 seconds or less. You want to be able to give at least 100 compressions in a minute. You may lift your hands slightly off the chest between compressions to allow for full chest recoil. But keep your hand placement. Keep interruptions to a minimum. It helps to count out loud. Some say humming the tune to the 1980s pop tune Staying Alive is good for keeping the right tempo.
Okay, so for the summary, anyone can do CPR. In 5 easy steps: scene safety, call 911, shake and shout, check if they are breathing. If they're not breathing, you can go ahead and jump into compressions. And if you forget any of these steps, the 911 operator will be able to help you, and they will guide you step by step through the steps that you need to take to perform the CPR. Everything becomes a natural process, so just stay calm and act quickly, but always, always make sure you look for safety first. You can be the difference in a person's life.